Right then, people, we're back inside the building. Just gone 3 minutes past 9 here. We are live on the Big Bad Trickstar Radio, and we are jumping into today's interview section. I'm really, really excited for this one. It's one that's been in the book for a little while, and I could not be more happy to be doing this one today. Man like Verb T joins us on the line. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, and thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No worries whatsoever, man. It's an absolute pleasure this end. Obviously, with yourself, you're in my eyes, I see you as one of the kind of active legends of UK hip-hop, someone who's been in the game for so long, been putting out so much good music over the years, and never really showed any signs of not being consistent, you know? Like, the first question I'm going to ask, because obviously we've got you for about half an hour, the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you maintain that level of consistency for such a long period of time?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the kind words. It's something you have to actively, keep going with. I've spoken about this before, and the comparison I made is, it's like if you're a boxer, you want to continue boxing, later into your 30s or whatever, or 40s even. Some boxers, you got Mike Tyson and Roy Jones apparently going to fight. So, you just got to keep working at it. You got to hit the gym. My version of hitting the gym is just keep writing, keep recording tracks, keep working on my craft. There's always room to elevate, I think. And also, not only that, as I get older, there's different things I want to talk about. So the young me might have been focused on punchlines more so, and now I'm talking about things from my perspective as a man about to hit 40 years old. So I think people that are stuck with me on that journey, they're going to stay interested, and all I can do for their benefit is just keep working on my craft and making sure that I'm making music I feel is of a good standard. Because, honestly, I honestly say if I lost the love for it, or if I felt that my standard was slipping, I wouldn't want to keep putting music out. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man. And it is kind of crazy when you look over the catalogue, obviously, through the solo work, through the stuff you've done with the 4 hours as well. Just the mass of the catalogue is crazy. Like, do you ever find yourself kind of going back over the catalogue and kind of going, wow, that one happened then, that one happened then?
It's interesting you asked that, because recently I did. I don't really, you know what it is? When I'm making an album, I'll listen to it obsessively because I want to know every inch of it. So there's a few reasons. One is I want to know the lyrics for when I have to perform them.
Of course.
So the best way is just to keep listening. But aside from that, obviously I want to, I'm a real perfectionist. So, I just want to make sure there's no little bits I'm unhappy with, or, everything stands up. And also, but then once the album gets released, I just don't want to touch it. I'm just like, that's for everyone else now, And part of that is because I know I'm going to be performing the songs, so I don't want to get sick of them. But also, I kind of feel like, I want to listen to it before it's out. Then once it's out, it's for the public, and I want to start working on the next one. So, right now, I'm still listening to this new record that me and Ill Informed have got coming. But as soon as it's out, I'm just going to be on the next one. And I've already started working on new music. I'm constantly working on it. But in answer to your question about the back catalogue, every now and again, though, I will want to revisit the time and space I was in when I made certain things. So, like, for example, I Remain is one I went back to recently just because, that's the album I wrote after I first left London, moved down to the South Coast. And so I kind of wanted to take myself back to that headspace and time, and just sort of, it's not so much listening to the music as you put it in quite a good way. It's like revisiting memories from a specific time,
Definitely, man. And I think obviously with the sort of style of hip hop you bring, it is quite an introspective look at things. It is quite it's quite emotive to an extent. So obviously the stuff you're writing about, as you said earlier, is going to be related to what's happening in your life at the time. A question I want to ask before we get more into that, though, just because it's a question I've always been meaning to ask with yourself, is with when you're writing, it always seems to be you're in album mode. It never really seems to be a case of writing singles or anything around that case. Do you kind of always focus in on albums as a project when you're writing, or do you ever kind of dip off and do kind of one-off bits here and there?
It's a good question, man. I think over the years I've definitely become more album focused. When I was working on my early music with Harry Love and Brain Tax and the sort of whole low life time of things, that was more just writing verses. I used to write so much back then. I used to just fill up books, and a lot of it never got used because that was just my, my training, as it were. Whereas now I kind of feel like I don't need to do that. That's not out of complacency, but I just think now I don't necessarily have as much time to sit and just fill up books. And I don't. Also, I've said so much that if I'm going to put new music out, I need to feel like I'm speaking on something really relevant to me right now, rather than just sort of creating a verse for the sake of creating a verse. That said, I still do love making music. So sometimes you just get a spark of inspiration and I'll just go off and write. But for the most part, I'm definitely focused on whatever project it is I'm working on, because I see each song as a part of a bigger picture, usually.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That makes sense, and I think that's something that's actually quite unique to UK hip hop as a whole. I feel it always, in general, it seems to be quite album centric. It doesn't really seem to be about the sort of one-off singles, which seems to have taken over the majority of the rest of the kind of different UK music scenes that are out there. So kind of with it, let's kind of touch on this new project. Then, obviously, you're working on a new selection with Ill Informed. How did you two first get into contact and start making music together?
I've kind of known him. We've met, pretty sure we've met a couple of times, because he's Leaf Dog's brother. And obviously, people know that I'm in a group with Leaf Dog 4 hours. So I kind of knew him through that. But the way we started working on music, because I think I maybe featured on some beats that he'd produced for BVA and other people. But he sent me a beat for his project, The Mold Tape, which is his solo producer album. And it was one of those things where timing is everything with music, I feel. Well, not everything, but it's a large part of it. And he just happened to send me this beat, and it was the exact thing I wanted to hear at that time. And I wrote him a verse for his album in 30 minutes. As soon as I heard it, the idea just came to me. And so he said, look, do you want to work on any more stuff? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And he sent me a batch of beats. And as soon as he sent them, I think in that first batch he sent me, maybe 3 of them were tracks that ended up going on Man with the Foggy Eyes, which is the first collaborative album me and Ill Informed did. And it just, you know what it is just that as soon as I heard those beats, I got the idea for the album name, some of the imagery for the cover, what I wanted to talk about, the mood I wanted it to be. It just happened to hit me at exactly the time when I needed to be writing those type of songs.
Amazing.
And
man.
I think that's why it's taken a little while for us to come with the second installment, because, I'm lucky enough to work with so many great producers. And I guess, I don't want to sound corny, but it's a fact that, part of my longevity has been the ability to work with so many talented MCs and producers that keep me inspired. I've worked my backside off, but same time, I've had a lot of inspiration from a lot of talented artists as well.
Definitely, man. Well, I mean, it's something that a question I did kind of want to ask is what I've noticed about a lot of these collaborations with Ill Informed is there's definitely a kind of nostalgic feel about the tunes, but they all sound so modernized and so clean. Like, is that a pocket you find yourself fitting into quite comfy?
I try to. I mean, I've worked on different styles of beats, but definitely the stuff he makes, it definitely has a nostalgic feel to it. And I think, that's, as you said before, a lot of my stuff is quite introspective. So, in order to do that, I kind of need that slight bit of nostalgia. But I always try and keep it fresh and talk about what's currently going on for me and what I'm seeing around me. So it's not like a thing I try to do, but I guess that is just how I approach music. So yeah, it comes out like that.
Definitely, man. I mean, it's been really sick to kind of see. Obviously, I get the promo emails through, so they'll be like every time I see a new Verb T and Ill Informed collab, I'm like, cool, I'm checking this one out, and I've got a kind of a good expectation level of the tunes. We're going to get into one of them next. This one goes by the name of Rotten Luck. So talk to me about this tune. What can we expect from it?
Well, this it was the first single that we released from the album. It's maybe my favourite tune, which is why I wanted to get it out there. I wrote the second verse when I was in a hospital bed in Southampton Hospital. So all the hospital imagery is sort of me taking what I saw around me and sort of maybe slightly dramatising it. The hook I also wrote when I was in there. It just kind of came to me one day. Funnily enough, I was sitting in the prayer room. It was the quietest place. I used to go and sit in there and write. So that's why I wrote the hook and the second verse for this song. Actually, I feel like it's a very optimistic tune, even know, there's quite dark stuff involved in it, and it was my sort of healing process. It was the start of my healing process.
Amazing,
Amazing,
man.
Well,
Well, we're going to get into this one now then. I'm really excited to get into this one, to be fair. Just gone 13 minutes past 9 here. We are live on Trickstar Radio. A man like Verb T is on the line.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.